All right, guys, if you're in this position and you're looking to get approved by domestic high-ticket dropshipping suppliers, this video is for you. You will learn several things you didn't already know in this video. So I'm going to go over some tips I've found which have worked for me and will drastically increase your approval rate with suppliers. If you want a more in-depth guide on securing suppliers with scripts and templates and a supply directory and everything you'll need, you can check out my program, which I'll link below. Now, just quickly, I'm not talking about Chinese suppliers in this video. I'm talking about domestic suppliers within your country. So if you're in the US, this would be US-based suppliers. If you're in Australia like me, this would be Aussie suppliers and so on. And also, these are reputable suppliers, like the brands of the products within your niche, which is why they're more difficult to get approved by, because they have to be sure that you're going to represent their brand properly. And if you've never done it before, it can be tough to convince some suppliers to dropship their products, but it's way, way easier when you learn how to do it properly. So the first tip I use, which is very powerful, but some of you might not want to do this, is to offer to take care of shipping for the supplier. A lot of suppliers you talk to will be apprehensive initially to approve you. And really, their main job is to ship the product to the customer for you. So just offer to take care of shipping for them. And sometimes organizing your own shipping company to pick up the product from the supplier and ship it to your customer could potentially work out cheaper. And there's plenty of shipping companies who can do this, so it's not hard to organize if you need to. So when you offer to take care of shipping, you're taking away the main job that that supplier needs to do, and therefore taking away their main reason to refuse you. Now, if I can tell they're apprehensive about approving me, I'll say something like, if you like, I can take care of shipping for you, so there's nothing you need to do except leave the orders in your dispatch area for my courier to pick up. How does that sound? It makes it hard for them to say no to you when you're saying this, because you're making it sound like you're going to do all the work and they're just making easy money on each order. And really, it's not much more work for them to ship the products for you. So they may end up just saying, yes, we can ship the products for you anyway, or they may agree to it further down the track. So don't assume that you're going to have to manage shipping forever. All right, next is you want to make it clear that you don't want credit terms and you'll pay for everything up front. It's important to reassure the supplier of this so you can put their mind at ease. So before we took away all the work for them by offering to manage shipping, now we can take away all the risk for them by letting them know you don't want any credit terms. And again, this just gives them even less of a reason that they can say no to you. So you want to say, we're not looking for credit terms, we'll pay for all orders up front. Okay, you want to make it abundantly clear that there's zero risk for them in accepting you as a reseller of their brand. So you want to let them know that you're easy to work with, you're risk-free, and even if you don't make a single sale with that supplier, they've lost nothing. Okay? Plus, it shows you're confident that you can make sales and you can make them a lot of money. Now, I already mentioned that reducing the supplier's workload by offering to manage shipping can increase your approval rate. But really try to emphasize to the supplier that you'll be doing all the hard work and they'll be doing very little. Make it sound like they're getting the far better end of the deal here. So you can talk about all the marketing you have to do, but also make it clear that they don't have to deal with customers at all. That is your job. So when it comes to all the customer support and answering questions and queries, you'll do all of that. When it comes to all the negative aspects of dealing with customers like complaints and disputes, you'll do all of that. And also tell the supplier that you are the one processing payments with the customer. So you'll be dealing with refunds and returns, you'll be dealing with chargebacks, you'll be dealing with any payment related issues. This isn't as much work as it all sounds, but you really want to pile it all on. You want to make it appear like you have to deal with all the worst aspects of customer interactions and it's all out of their hands. And don't let all these negative customer interactions I'm talking about deter you from the business model, because it's actually not that much work, especially with high ticket products. It's more pre-purchase support where most of the work is. All right, next. One of a supplier's main concerns with working with any new reseller, especially a dropshipper, is their brand's reputation. Like their reputation is everything. It's how customers perceive their brand and their products. So like if they have an authorized reseller who treats their customers poorly, that reflects on their brand. It gives them a bad name and it devalues their brand's perceived value. So you have to make it very clear to the supplier that you'll enhance their brand's image. And there's a few things you can say to put their mind at ease. So first is tell them how you'll support the customer. Tell them you'll offer phone support and you'll have buying guides and post-purchase support and whatever support you offer. And don't lie about the support you provide to your customers, but definitely sort of exaggerate it and embellish on it a little bit. Next, most brands will have MAP pricing in the US, which is minimum advertised pricing, and RRP in other countries like Australia and the UK, which is recommended retail pricing, which is basically the minimum pricing they want you to sell their products at. There's different laws about each and it gets a little confusing, but usually it's enforceable in the US and it's not enforceable in other countries. Like I much prefer it being enforceable like the US does, but I won't get into that in this video. But either way, I reassure the supplier that I won't sell under their MAP pricing or their recommended pricing, even though I don't legally have to in Australia, because they don't want their products being sold at cheap prices, because that causes price wars among sellers and it cheapens their overall brand. So make it very clear you won't sell under their recommended prices no matter what country you're in. And another thing I make clear to the supplier is I will only sell their products on my website and I will not be listing their products on other online marketplaces, because they don't typically want their products listed on marketplaces like Amazon and eBay, because again, this impacts their image and it devalues their overall brand. Next, you need to convince them that you are an expert. And that doesn't mean bullshitting them and telling them you've got 20 e-commerce stores that generate 7 figures a month. It means using some online technical terms that at least give the impression that you're an expert. For example, you could say, we specialize in online marketing. We use SEO and Google Ads to drive targeted traffic. We run multiple A/B tests across campaigns to identify the highest converting audiences. I know I'm going a bit over the top here, okay? But you're not lying, okay? You're just making it sound like this is your thing and you know what you're doing. And chances are they're not going to fully understand what it all means, okay? It's likely just going to go over their head. But it sounds like you're not just another wholesaler inquiring about reselling their products. Okay, you sound like you're an expert, you sound like you can make them sales, and you sound like you can make them a lot of money, and that's what matters. And the last thing I want to mention is how you say all of this to the supplier. So if I'm talking to a supplier and I can tell they're sort of on the fence about approving me, I'll really emphasize what's in it for them. And I'll say it with a certain tone that almost makes them feel like they have to say yes. So for example, I'll say, look, I understand your concern, but I'm happy to manage my own shipping and I don't want any credit terms and I'll manage all customer interactions and all marketing. So I'll take care of all the work and remove any risk for you. How does that sound? And when you say that, how does that sound? Say it with that sort of little uptick in the end, because you're kind of telling them without actually telling them that they should say yes to this. Like it's an obvious no-brainer to say yes, and they're almost a fool if they say no. It's incredibly powerful how using certain tones in the way you speak is, like for selling, but also like other things in life. Okay, I'll leave it there. And like I said earlier, I go into all of this deeper in my course, and I've got more tips and I've got scripts and I've got how to handle objections from suppliers and everything I've found to maximize your chance of approval. So essentially, you should be able to get approved by any supplier that is approvable, okay? Thanks for watching, guys.